But we begin tonight with President Biden's plan to forgive student loan debt for millions of Americans. $10,000 will be canceled for borrowers making less than $125,000, and $20,000 of student loan debt will be canceled for Pell Grant recipients. Mr. Biden has also extended the payment pause through this year. Here's what the president had to say about the plan's impact on the economy and inflation.
By resuming student loan payments at the same time as we provide targeted relief, we're taking an economically responsible course. As a consequence, about $50 billion a year will start coming back into the Treasury because of resumption of debt. Independent experts agree that these actions taken together will provide real benefits for families without meaningful effect on inflation.
For more on this, let's bring in CBS News correspondent Christina Ruffini. Hey, Christina, good to see you. So you asked a question about the president's plan during the White House press briefing today. I want to play a little bit of that sound and then talk about it on the other end.
On student loans, one of my colleagues asked if these measures are likely to raise prices because it makes it easier for some students who are maybe more willing to take on debt if they know they're only going to have to pay a minimum amount or if it's going to be forgiven. And Ambassador Rice said that's something the Department of Education is going to be on the lookout for. So I'm wondering if that's a tacit acknowledgement that, yes, these policies could cause tuition rates to rise in the near future even further than they already have.
Look, this is something that Ambassador Rice talked about, as you just stated. She was asked this question a couple of times, and she said we have to see, right? We have to see. This is something that the Department of Education is going to look into, in particular with when you talk about colleges potentially raising prices. That's something that the Department of Education is looking at and is going to crack down on.
So, Christina, it's a really good question because increasing college tuition is one of several concerns about this student loan forgiveness plan and whether this would incentivize or, forgive some of these institutions for raising prices. I mean, college is just so expensive. Can you kind of walk us through what some of the other pros and cons are of this plan?
Well, I mean, this was a question that you heard me ask, but my other colleagues asked as well, and we tried to go at it several times. Because when Ambassador Susan Rice was up there, she said, look, we're really going to have the Department of Education be on the lookout for colleges that are going to increase tuition. Because one of the reasons that colleges can charge so much for tuition is because students can take out these loans, right? If there wasn't this loan availability, I mean, someone like me would never have been able to afford a graduate school or something like that. So colleges know that. And if they know going in, one of the parts of this plan is it's going to make it easier for students who have a large principal to pay a lower minimum monthly due, right? So they're only going to have to pay, I think it's 5%, a max of the, what they have left over after they pay essential needs. They're going to make it easier to shoulder these big student loan burdens. And that's a really good thing for students who are struggling or former students who are struggling to pay back these loans. But it can also be a bad thing if you think about the fact that other students, newer students, future students might be more likely to take on $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 in loans, knowing that eventually they might be forgiven or they're just going to have to pay a minimum payment for 20 years and then they're going to be done with it. So there's really not a lot of incentive for colleges to lower prices, and that's something we were asking about. The other thing, it's a little bit unclear how this is getting paid for. There have been arguments that they're going to restart, that they've suspended borrowers having to pay back some of those loans, that those are going to restart. But the White House was asked directly several times, how are you going to pay for this? And they didn't really have a straight answer for that as well.
Yeah, we talked to the education secretary about that, and we'll have that later in the program, but asking some of those questions as well. I want to ask just quickly about the politics of all of this, because we're almost in September. We're 76 days away from a midterm election. How is that playing in here? Is this a move to try to motivate the president's base at this point?
I mean, that's a question that's being asked by reporters like you and many of our colleagues. The timing of this is interesting, right? It was a campaign pledge. He's been in office for a while. Why are they doing it now, right? What is the impetus to get this done now? And a lot of people are looking at that calendar and looking at November. There's also, there's two sides of this, right? There's the appeal to borrowers who need this relief and who are struggling under these loans, and that's a good thing. But there's also the other side of that is there's people who didn't go to college because they didn't think they could afford to take out these loans. Or there's people who went to college and sacrificed to pay off these loans. And is this fair? And I think that's a question we're going to hear over and over again. And it will be interesting to see if this measure gets them the excitement, gets them the support they need, or if there is a backlash even among some Democratic voters that this is not fair to those who either couldn't go to college because they thought they couldn't afford it and would have made a different decision had they known their loans were going to be forgiven, or those who did go and had to pay it off.
Yeah, really good point, and interesting to see some mixed reaction from Democratic lawmakers, especially ahead of the midterms. Christina Ruffini at the front row of the White House in that press briefing for us. Thank you so much.
Just keeping the seat warm for you. Thanks so much.